Mercedes' 2022 season has been one they would want to forget quickly, especially Lewis Hamilton. The Brit had his first winless season of his career, and while he talked about being a guinea pig in the first half of the season and all of the experiments being done on his car, that hasn't proved to be the truth at all. Russell spoke about the situation recently, further adding that he would be in a fair position to beat Hamilton if given the proper chance. It seems like Wolff was in the right, but when these two have a proper chance to fight for the championship, the respect won't be as high as we'd expect. That has been proven yet again by Russell's shocking statement on Hamilton. Russell's 2022 season has been phenomenal, given the fact that he came from Williams and was a rookie in a car that saw a massive drop in performance due to the aerodynamic phenomenon of porpoising. Not only was he responsible for delivering great performances and gathering massive amounts of points when the pace of the W13 was a huge issue for the Brackley-based squads, but he also beat Hamilton at the end of the season, something that only Button and Rosberg managed to do in 2011 and 2016 respectively. Russell replaced Bottas, who was the perfect wingman for Hamilton, presenting zero challenge and always being here to sacrifice his race in order for the Brit to win races. But that is not what Hamilton encountered with Russell, despite the fact that this was the primary expectation when Russell joined forces with Hamilton in Mercedes. Still, even with all of the good performances of Russell, who gained the nickname Mr. Consistency due to his consistent finishes in the top 5 of almost all races of this season, Mercedes was far away from fighting for the championship. That has been said by Wolff as well, who added that the reason why Russell and Hamilton respect each other so much is because they are now fighting for P5 and P6 most of the races, occasionally finishing on the podium when some of the teams ahead of them have had their fair share of struggles. Wolff also believes that the tensions between Russell and Hamilton will rise when they're presented with the championship challenge, and it seems like Mercedes is preparing for yet another 2016 season between these two. Let's see what Wolff had to say about the 2022 season, and then continue with the statements of Russell and Hamilton regarding their futures with Mercedes. Wolff and Hamilton have a long past behind them, and obviously the Austrian isn't going to take cheap shots at the 7-time world champion regarding him finishing below Russell. When talking about the finishing order in 2022, Wolff added, "That's irrelevant. They were not racing for a world championship. They hadn't raced for victories apart from Brazil. I don't think for any of the team it matters whether they finish 2nd, 3rd, 4th, or 5th. Lewis has been really good because you expect a world champion who has had the title taken away from him to just come in and smash everybody, but we didn't give him the car to do that." Still, Russell believes that beating Hamilton 9 out of 10 times means that sometime in the future you're going to win the championship, and he has been really vocal about beating Hamilton in the future, when the Brackley-based squad will have a championship-winning car in their garage. As of now, that has been a failure, but from 2023 and beyond, we're definitely going to see a different version of Mercedes. That is why we should expect some massive changes inside Mercedes and in the working environment between Russell and Hamilton. Hamilton has spoken multiple times about the 2022 pace, especially in the first half of the season, when he finished P10 and P14 in Jeddah and Imola, respectively. He added that the W13 has been like a wild rattlesnake that needs to be tamed, or like it has a parachute behind it and it's constantly dragged along with the car. But what he also said is that his car has been the subject of experiments in the first half of the season, which is why he struggled a lot for pace and performance. That hasn't been the truth, according to Russell, who absolutely slammed Hamilton for his statements, further adding, "No, that's not the case. Whenever there were test items brought to the track, it was shared evenly across us both." I think what he probably means is that he was a bit more extravagant with setup items. Whenever there was a development that came to the car, it would always be split evenly. One week it would be me, one week it would be him. But even with this being said, it's evident that Hamilton keeps high respect for Russell, and the respect is being given back by the 24-year-old Brit as well. However, Hamilton feels like the initial success of Russell at Mercedes has something to do with him not experimenting as much as he does, which is why he elaborated on this matter more deeply, adding, "George is doing a great job. I don't have any problems with it. There's no issues in the background with us. George, I would say, and his team, they don't experiment the same, obviously, but that's because I've been here for a long time, so I'm willing to take these risks. I have the big, deep conversations with people I've been with for 10 years. So me and Chauvelin can have arguments, constructive arguments. George, it's his first year with the team, so he's come in and he's doing his job to the best of his ability. Very little movement of setup. With this being said, it's obvious that Hamilton isn't really happy with how he's been treated by the team in the previous season, and we don't have to go far away in the first couple of races to see that. When he lost in Imola, Wolff jumped immediately on the radio to apologize to Hamilton for having to drive that kind of car, and in Zandvoort, Hamilton was constantly swearing at his team and telling them that they screwed his race. Russell, on the other hand, employed his own strategy in Zandvoort, pitting for a fresh set of soft tires and thus passing Hamilton to finish P2, his career-high finish at the time. Russell also added that Hamilton is a great team player and great individual, and he has stolen a couple of tricks from the 7-time world champion when it comes to being better and learning how to grow with every day passing by. Some of these tricks were off the track, while some of them were on the track. But nevertheless, rest assured that Russell applied them properly as he grew into what he is today. For sure, being teammates with Lewis is such an amazing position to be in, because he's obviously the greatest driver of all time, and there's a huge amount I've learned from him in the sense of, probably more off track to be honest, with how he conducts himself with the engineers and goes about his business. But equally, small details on track that have been really impressive for me to see. But if you want to be a Formula One world champion, you've got to beat the best, and you've got to beat everyone. And what a position I'm in to have Lewis as my benchmark. What is a very interesting situation now is the position of Mercedes in 2023. Obviously, the team is going to have some increased time in the wind tunnel facilities and the CFD factories, meaning that they're going to utilize this time in the best possible way in order to gain an advantage over Ferrari and Red Bull. On top of that, Red Bull does have a sporting penalty that is limiting their runs in these facilities, meaning that with the new aerodynamical regulations, the Austrian team could struggle when it comes to securing the third championship for Verstappen. This would be the perfect opportunity for Mercedes to come closer to the field and potentially present a bigger threat for the championship. But the question needs to be asked, who will be prioritized in the championship fight? Obviously, there can be only one champion, and from what we've seen in 2022, Mercedes doesn't have any particular plan to prioritize Hamilton just for him to earn the 8th record-breaking championship. But time will tell whether the Silver Arrow will prioritize Russell or Hamilton, or just let them race fair and square, because prior to this happening, we need to see a winning version of the Mercedes car, something they failed to provide in the 2022 season. What do you think is next for the Silver Arrows? And more importantly, what do you think about Russell's statements on Hamilton about the guinea pig role? Let us know in the comments below.